You ever wonder why some men look so confident on camera? Or why certain physical traits seem almost superhuman? Let me tell you something important right from the start. What you see in adult films is not real life, and comparing yourself to it is one of the fastest ways to damage your confidence, your performance, and even your physical health. Today, we're breaking down what urologists actually say about size, split stream, and psychogenic ed. Because the truth is way healthier, way more attainable, and way more empowering than the fantasy you've been sold. The first thing every man needs to understand is that porn is entertainment, not education. Many performers use pumps, injections, angles, lighting, and even surgical enhancement. None of that reflects the biology of everyday men. Urologists see thousands of patients, and the reality is simple. Normal comes in a huge range. Most men who feel insecure are already perfectly healthy. They're just comparing themselves to an illusion. And when your brain buys into those illusions, your body responds with stress, anxiety, and performance issues that never needed to exist in the first place. When we talk about things like split stream, most men immediately panic, thinking something is wrong. The truth. Split stream usually happens because the urethral opening temporarily sticks together, often after urination, semen release, or slight inflammation. It's extremely common and almost always harmless. Hydration, proper hygiene, and letting the body reset usually fix it without any treatment at all. It's only persistent or painful cases that require a urologist, so don't jump to conclusions or assume you're broken. And then there's psychogenic ed, which is way more common than people think. This is the kind of erectile difficulty that's caused by anxiety, overthink, guilt, pressure, or excessive stimulus from adult content. Your body isn't failing, your brain is overloaded. When your mind is stressed, it sends a message that blocks blood flow. But just like any muscle or habit, you can retrain the brain. Reducing adult content, focusing on real intimacy, improving sleep, cutting back on stimulants, and building confidence through fitness are all incredibly powerful ways to restore natural performance. Most men see a huge difference simply by reducing stress on the mind, not adding more pressure to the body. So if you're watching this and worrying about size, performance, or little quirks like split stream, remember, you're not alone, you're not broken, and you don't need to live up to an unrealistic standard. What really matters for a man's health is function, confidence, consistent care, things that are completely within your control. Take the pressure off. Take care of your mind, take care of your body, and everything else begins to fall into place. Most men don't realize how much of their performance anxiety comes from the quiet comparisons they make in their heads, especially when they've spent years watching adult content that presents an exaggerated, unrealistic version of male performance. Your brain is constantly recording what it sees, and over time, it begins to treat those visuals as the standard, even though they're manufactured through lighting, camera angles, enhancement tools, and trained actors. When a man judges himself against that artificial world, his confidence takes a hit long before his body ever does. The mind begins sending signals of doubt, and doubt triggers the stress response. When stress kicks in, your body redirects blood flow to survival systems instead of intimacy, which means performance. Issues show up, not because you're unhealthy, but because you've unintentionally trained your brain to expect failure. Psychogenic ed is simply the mind being overwhelmed, overstimulated, or overpressured, and what's important to understand is that the body usually works perfectly fine. It's the mental tension that blocks the natural pathway between desire, physical response. Urologists see this all the time, men in great physical shape who think something is wrong because their performance doesn't match what they've seen on a screen. The truth is that many of these men have zero physical issues. Their insecurities alone are powerful enough to disrupt their confidence. But once a man steps away from unrealistic standards and focuses more on his own body, his own pace, and real life connection, the mind begins to relax, the pressure drops, and the natural response slowly returns. Performance anxiety is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your expectations have been distorted, and the moment you reset them, your body starts cooperating again. Split stream is one of those things that instantly worries men when it happens, even though it's actually one of the most common and harmless urinary quirks the male body experiences. Most guys assume it signals a serious issue, but in the vast majority of cases, it's simply the urethral opening momentarily sticking together. This can happen after semen release, when small amounts of fluid dry at the tip, or when there's mild irritation from dehydration or friction. Even something as simple as not drinking enough water can make urine more concentrated, which slightly irritates the urethra and makes the stream behave differently. Urologists reassure men all the time that the body naturally resets itself once the tissue rehydrates and relaxes again. Split stream is also more likely first thing in the morning when the tissues are dry, the bladder is full, and even then it usually corrects itself within a few seconds. The real problem isn't the split stream itself, but the anxiety it creates. Because once a man starts worrying about his urinary health, he often imagines larger issues that aren't actually there. Understanding how normal this experience is removes so much unnecessary stress. Only when the split stream is persistent, painful, or paired with burning sensations does it indicate something worth checking professionally, such as inflammation or a possible urinary infection. But for the average healthy man, it's simply a temporary, mechanical quirk of the urethra, no different from a voice crack or muscle twitch. Once you recognize how common and harmless it truly is, you stop overreacting to it, your confidence stays intact, and you learn to trust your body instead of assuming something is wrong every time it behaves slightly differently. Psychogenic. Ed is one of the clearest examples of how powerful the mind is over the body, and most men don't realize that. Their physical abilities are often perfectly normal, while their thoughts are the real source of the struggle. When a man deals with constant pressure, overstimulation from adult content, stress from daily life, or fear of disappointing a partner, the brain sends signals that interfere with the natural process of arousal and blood flow. It isn't a failure of the body. It's a protective response from a mind that feels overwhelmed. The sympathetic nervous system, which controls the fight-or-flight reaction, becomes active during anxiety, and that alone is enough to interrupt performance. But the encouraging part is that the mind can be retrained, and once the mental environment becomes calmer, the physical response often returns on its own. Small changes like reducing adult content, improving sleep patterns, increasing physical activity, and creating deeper emotional connection can dramatically shift a man's performance because they lower the mental noise that has been blocking the natural pathways. When the brain stops treating intimacy like a test, the body stops reacting like it's under threat. Many men notice improvement simply by giving themselves permission to slow down, breathe, and stop measuring their masculinity by a single moment. Urologists consistently remind patients that this type of ED is reversible because it's rooted in habits and thoughts, not physical damage. The more a man focuses on confidence, relaxation, and healthy routines, the more he reconnects with his natural ability. And when he stops expecting perfection and starts prioritizing presence, his mind cooperates again. His stress levels drop, and his performance begins to feel effortless instead of pressured.